Hello, my name is Barbara Rivera, and I'm going to discuss respect and healthy communication in the workplace for my Psych project. What is the problem? So the problem that I'm going to be trying to solve with this services prototype is respect. So respect in the workplace is a value that is very important to most, if not everyone. Unfortunately, not all workplaces know how to put in the effort to make sure that all employees feel respected and valued. There are many situations in which coworkers communicate in a manner that is disrespectful and belittling. The reason why I thought of this problem is that I notice when I talk to my friends and my family members that respect is a common thing that's always talked about. When they talk about work and what went wrong, like what made their day less fun when they're done with their work day, is when someone has disrespected them. Even if they didn't mean to disrespect them or realize that what they did was disrespectful to them, it's just a very common thing that angers a lot of people when it comes to work and jobs. And so I've seen myself firsthand and heard firsthand stories from other people on how they just felt like they weren't even valued at their job because of the way that their superiors or even coworkers would speak to them. So here's a scenario that is a true story with a couple changes and name changes. So Sarah is an administrative assistant. She is tasked with filing paper and making phone calls. Jake is a coworker who asked Sarah if she could help him with a task outside of her to-do list. Sarah tells Jake that she will try and help after her immediate tasks for the week are done. Later that same week, Jake asks Sarah if she has gotten to the task he wanted help with. Sarah tells him that she has been very busy and hasn't had the chance to. Jake responds by telling Sarah, "Okay, but word of advice, in the real world you cannot tell someone you are too busy to do your job." Sarah was baffled and felt disrespected. She decided to talk with both Jake and their superiors about the situation, but it was just brushed aside. Keep this scenario in mind. So, my solution, the RSPT program. So the RSPT program would be a company that partners with other companies and work environments in order to help manage workplace respect and communication. This is important because, as you can see in the scenario, communication and respect go hand in hand. And so I feel like you can't discuss the problem of lack of respect without talking about lack of healthy communication. So, after a company partners with us, we would set up a time based on the needs of the company, whether it be bi-weekly or monthly, to meet with all staff in each department. This includes superiors, subordinates, all co-workers, everyone. So, RSPT would provide a facilitator for these meetings. Now, let's say we were to partner with JP Morgan. JP Morgan has a bunch of different departments. So if they were to partner with RSPT, we would have a different facilitator for every department, or they'd be the same facilitator. But every department will have a consistent facilitator. So if I were to be one of those facilitators for Department A, then Department A will only have me as their facilitator. So there's consistency, trust builds a safe space because they're seeing the same face and talking to the same person. Now, the only time that the facilitator will change is if the department themselves request a change in facilitator or aren't happy with the facilitator that they have. So, in these meetings, we would discuss or review the rules and guidelines already in place in terms of respect. It's always good to just talk about what's already in place, the rules, that's already laid out for us, because a lot of the time we go over the rules and guidelines once a year and it doesn't really stick too much, or we don't remember it too well throughout the time that they were working in the year. So I feel like it's important for us to just review those rules and guidelines in these meetings, and that will be one of the first things that we do. Then another thing that we'll do is discuss what healthy communication between coworkers look like. We will also show what non-healthy communication between coworkers look like, so that you have a compare and contrast. Discuss what healthy communication between superiors and their subordinates look like. Same thing. Compare and contrast. What's okay, what's not okay. Discuss why healthy communication correlates to respect. They're one and the same. They're one and the same. So for the most part. So in terms of the Jake and Sarah scenario, Sarah felt disrespected because of the way that Jake was talking to her, the way that Jake was communicating with her. And so a lot of times the way you communicate with someone may lead to them feeling disrespected or respected, or the opposite. So discussing why that's important, why word choice is very important. And one very important thing that will be happening in these meetings is addressing any specific circumstances that may have occurred that hasn't been dealt with prior, or they have been, but not in a satisfactory manner between both parties, to all parties involved. So in this meeting, it would give Sarah a chance to bring this scenario up again and say, hey, so XYZ happened and it was just brushed aside. I'm not happy with this. I don't feel valued in this company. What do we do? Like, how do we fix this? You know, like trying to find a way. And this would be brought up to the facilitator with Jake and the boss. Or if Sarah does not want to point fingers, Sarah can also talk one-on-one with the facilitator, and the facilitator can take it upon themselves to bring up that scenario and in a way that doesn't point fingers, and talk about how to deal with that scenario. Now, the tricky thing, not the tricky thing, but the thing that's very important in terms of addressing specific circumstances, that is the most important thing from these meetings, because Jake didn't think he did anything wrong. He didn't feel like he was disrespectful. Sarah felt disrespectful, felt disrespected regardless of what Jake feels. Jake feels he did nothing wrong. Sarah felt disrespected and belittled, devalued. So it's very important to talk about those circumstances, because what may look like disrespect to one person doesn't to the other. So it's important to do that, because you never know like what you may say or do that can disrespect someone that you didn't even mean to disrespect. But also learning to like acknowledge that they felt disrespectful, even if you don't agree like you did anything wrong. So in this case, you know, Jake would have, we would have to talk, figure out the best way to deal with the situation. But we would also try to explain that, hey, even if you don't think you did anything wrong, apologize, acknowledge their feelings for, you know, that situation. And so, yeah, so RSPT, the main thing is to bring all workplaces, all employees to an understanding of what respect and healthy communication looks like, so that there's less and less issues with it later down the line. So yes, so that's it for my project presentation. Thank you.